All right. Well, today we're joined with Marc. Um, Actually, Marc, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. How do you pronounce it?
Guberti. So Gu
Bertie.
as in Guber, yeah, Guberti.
Right on. Um, so yeah, I mean, first thing I'd like to ask you is how'd you get started doing this stuff, and what kind of sparked your interest?
Well, I first got started with creating a blog about the Boston Red Sox, which is my favorite sports team. And by creating this blog, I saw an opportunity for me to have my content reach out to other Red Sox fans. And the thinking behind this blog was, how can I get as many people as possible to read this blog? So what I decided to do is I looked towards social media in order to get more exposure, but that resulted in me developing a love, a passion for social media. And as I continued to use social media to grow this blog, I realized that I could use it in other areas and create a blog all about social media. And that's when I realized businesses can use this. And now that's the reason why I've come to write thousands of blog posts on my digital marketing blog, create YouTube videos, write books, and do all of my training courses.
And how old were you when you started the Red Sox blog?
I was 11 years old when I first started
Wow.
that blog. So I didn't think of it from the business standpoint at all. This was just an 11-year-old trying to find something to do and writing a blog post about the Red Sox. That was a great way for me to communicate with Red Sox fans and take the team more seriously because I had to do research in order to write those blog posts.
Right. And you just said you're like really passionate about social media now. What would you say is your favorite social media platform?
Well, I like the social networks for different reasons. My favorite platform, though, is Twitter, largely because that's the one that I started out on. That's the one where I'm the most successful on. And I've got to interact with a lot of people on Twitter who I wouldn't have been able to interact with without Twitter. It was the social network that I went to first. It allowed me to build my confidence as I went towards mastering the other social networks. So Twitter is my favorite social network because of the history of it.
Okay. But when it comes to conversions, because when I look at Twitter, and I've read this in a blog post before, I look at Twitter as a high, what is it? It's high interaction, low value network. So when you're trying to get conversions, maybe for a Udemy course or something along those lines, would you still say is Twitter's your favorite, or would you maybe say Facebook or something?
Well, the social network that I like to use the most for getting sales and conversions is YouTube, because
Wow.
on YouTube, people get to see the free videos, and the free videos are basically a preview of what the training course is going to be like. Whether they're about the training course or not, it's just highlighting whether the person is good at doing videos or not. So I like to use YouTube to build that social proof and then promote my other social networks, my email list, and then my Udemy training courses within the description.
Nice. Okay, so I mean, I got tons of questions, but one of them that I really want to know is what was the process of getting interviewed on? I think you were on a TV show or a news network or something. How did that come about?
The way that these interviews work is that either someone will contact me or I will send pitches and just basically say what I do in 100 words or less, just so that these people get to know me. And it worked, in which the person read the pitch, the person liked the pitch, and that resulted in me getting on the show.
Nice. And do you think that helped at all in terms of people finding you? Do you ever hear people say, "Hey, I saw you on that show"? Or
Yes, it does help. And in fact, one of the digital marketing experts said that one of the reasons why he gets a lot of speaking engagements is because the people find him everywhere. So the more places where people can find you, the more likely you are going to get that exposure and to get those opportunities.
right. Well, and you're obviously doing a great job. I've seen you on YouTube. I've seen you on Udemy making announcements. I've seen you on Facebook, and I don't remember how I originally found you, but I saw you somewhere. So um, I was like, I got to get this guy on the podcast. So I also saw that you wrote a couple books. Do you want to explain kind of maybe the things that went into that, like maybe some of the hardships or, the benefits, that sort of thing?
Well, the benefit of writing a book is that it gives you more credibility and allows you to generate more sales at the same time. So that also does lead to more exposure. But when it comes to writing a book, the first book is always going to be the hardest to write because you have to get into that psyche. But in order to really turbocharge the process, make it a lot quicker for yourself, is to create an outline for your book before you actually start to write it. Because what a lot of people do is, without an outline, they are staring at that blank piece of paper or the blank document, trying to figure out what to write next. So before I write a book, I will always take the time to outline it. And the outline is basically a very solid prediction of how the book will go from start to finish. So I take a lot of time to outline, think of all of the possible ideas, and then I just start writing. And then after I have the content done, it's just a matter of proofreading and editing.
And I mean, that was probably a lot of work, right? Or was it something that was more like a fun thing for you?
Well, if you have the outline and it's something that you enjoy writing about, it could be a very fun experience. The reason why writing books isn't fun for everyone is because if you don't have the outline and you're trying to grasp for different ideas, it's a frustrating process to try and think of ideas when you just in reality want to be typing away. So if you have the outline, you're just constantly typing away, and that's what puts the fun in it.
Okay. Trying to think what the next question is that I would want to ask. So for me, I work at an SEO company, and I'm like the SEO manager here. It's called First Click. And one of the big troubles for me personally is that there's so much knowledge going by so fast in terms of SEO, social media, even search engine marketing, that kind of thing. And I have to find a healthy balance between learning and also doing. What do you usually? Okay, well, I guess the first question would be, do you do SEO? Do you do social media or search engine marketing? And if so, how much time do you usually spend doing it?
I do all three of them, but with a primary focus on social media for the main reason that social media traffic is a critical part of SEO traffic, because when the search engines see a lot of positive engagement on social media, that's the people indicating that they like this content and they want more of it, so the SEO will rank it higher. So in terms of how I find the time and how much time I invest in these, what I've learned to do is you have to outsource or systematize a lot of the strategy, because you could be spending hours of your time on social media alone, and you may have a bigger audience, you may be able to interact with a lot of people, but then you're not having the time to write the blog posts or create the products. So I've managed to put it to a point where I'm doing all three of those activities in just 15 minutes per day, because if I did them for about an hour a day, I would possibly be doing the same amount of work as compared to outsourcing, which just makes it easier. But the key point is I'm saving time, and that time goes towards other areas of my business.
Okay. So you're probably referring to mainly some automation tools, right? Like, maybe Buffer. I have a bunch that I use. Do you feel comfortable sharing any of the tools you use?
Yeah, sure. Managed Flitter is a big one because they have something called remote account management, and that's the main difference between them and Tweepy. For a long time, I used Tweepy, and Tweepy is still something that I use. The only difference between the two is that Managed Flitter makes it easier, in which you have some assistant for Managed Flitter doing the work for you. Tweepy is another very valuable option as well. You can't really go wrong with either of the tools. It's a matter of whether you want to do it for 15 minutes per day with Tweepy and save money and get the same result, or if you want to do it just like 15 minutes per week with Managed Flitter. It costs a little more money, but it's just based on the decisions and what your budget is.
So Managed Flitter is one of them. Any others?
I also use Hootsuite. Hootsuite is my favorite social media tool because it allows you to use social media more productively since it connects all the social networks together. And I use the bulk scheduling feature a lot, in which you could schedule 100 tweets if you have them in a CSV file already. You can schedule all of those tweets in just 6 clicks. So instead of scheduling all those tweets, copy, paste for 4 hours manually, I get the same job done in less than a minute.
Nice. Okay. So we just talked about how much time you spend doing this stuff. How much time do you spend learning it? And do you have any like mentors or people you look up to or certain websites you follow?
I have several people who I look up to in order to get more knowledge, stay up to date in the social media space. I mean, there are a lot of them. Jeff Bullis, Kim Garst, Social Media Examiner, just to name a few of the places where I go to. And the reason that I visit these places is to acquire more knowledge. I typically read at least 2 blog posts per day about my niche. And it doesn't seem like a lot of research, but if you add that up, it's 730 blog posts per year. And I'm also reading books on the side, watching videos, and I'm going to start doing audiobooks now because I'm a runner. So I could be listening to the audiobooks while I run. So that will help me out too.
Right on. Yeah. One of the big things that's been really helpful to me is actually listening to Social Media Examiner's podcast. He's got a lot of really great information. The only thing about podcasts in this world is I feel like you can only do so much because you can only retain so much auditory information when it comes to things that you're going to be doing that are very visual. So that's why I like to supplement that with also, Udemy courses, YouTube videos, that sort of thing.
Right.
So what are your plans for the future? I know you have a bunch of Udemy courses. How are those going? Are you planning on just making a bunch more, or maybe focusing more on YouTube? What do you see in the future for yourself?
Well, the plan is to just continue using Udemy. I currently have 22 courses. I'm seeing a lot of success. A lot of people are saying good things about those courses. So I plan on continuing there. And I also plan on writing 1 Kindle book per month. I'm trying to get a little more consistent with that. So I've made several adjustments to how I write blog posts in order to open up more time for that. So those are the 2 current goals that I'm focusing on in terms of the product creation.
Okay. And do you think that Udemy is a pretty profitable platform? Would you recommend it to other people who may be doing the same thing?
Yes, I would recommend it to anyone who's trying to do the similar thing, because not only are you able to generate revenue from the courses because Udemy promotes these courses through their search engine and through ads, but what also happens is you also have an email list with your Udemy course. And it's a free email list. You don't have to pay a penny. No matter how many students you get, you just continue to send them emails. So it's a great way to grow an email list while at the same time providing value and making revenue from your courses.
Yeah, I actually get your emails, by the way. So would you recommend making some free courses at first, getting a couple thousand students in there, and then maybe start to monetize your courses, or would you start from the very beginning just charging money?
In the beginning, I would recommend creating a course and charging money for it, and then adding free courses as you go. The thing about Udemy is that they have different rules about what you can email and what you cannot email within their courses. So right now, you can't use a free course to promote a paid course through an email blast. But what you can do is you could promote your YouTube videos, or you could promote your blog posts in order to get more engagement for those. So I would have a stronger focus on creating free courses if you were to do that, to grow the email list and use that to promote your YouTube videos, blog posts, and other stuff. And the paid courses as a way to making revenue on Udemy.
Nice. Okay, so as you already know, this is a SEO podcast. We also talk about social media, search engine marketing. A lot of people who are listening to this podcast don't really have, they have knowledge, but I feel like our target audience is looking to learn a lot more from like people who are top in the field like you. And I was just going to ask what maybe you could offer to them through your courses, maybe the ones that are doing really well right now, or anything you want to, let people know about that would be helpful.
I've created several courses that tackle a wide variety of digital marketing topics. My Twitter domination course is the longest course I've created, and it basically goes into detail all the methods I use in order to acquire my Twitter audience. And I go into how you can get a targeted audience. I go into how you can get thousands of followers per month who will end up engaging with your tweets and reading through your content. I've also created my power blogging course, which is all about how to build a successful blog. So I've created 22 of these courses, most of them in digital marketing, some of them in the time management productivity sphere. And for some of the courses, I've managed to mesh the two together.
Nice. So you definitely recommend that Twitter course. I mean, I'm probably even interested in taking that.
Yes, the Twitter course is definitely the most comprehensive course in terms of hours of content, and you'll get the value from it as well. I literally reveal exactly how I'm able to grow the audience, and then what you do after you're getting the audience and as you are building that audience. So it's not just you're getting the number, but you're getting results from that number.
Right on. So yeah, this is the point where you can pretty much promote anything else you want. I don't really know. I mean, of course, like I said earlier, I have questions that I'd probably like to ask you personally. Some involving like, how do you spend like so much time on Pinterest? Like that has to be an automation software, right?
I have a virtual assistant who helps me out with a lot of those pins.
Really?
Yes.
How does that? Do you find somebody on Craigslist and then you hire them and they pin for you? Or?
I find someone on Upwork who is going to help out with that. I give that person an idea of what I expect, and then that person schedules the pins for me.
Okay. Interesting. Have you heard of Ninja Pinner yet?
Of Ninja Pinner?
Yes.
I've heard of it.
So I'll just tell you a couple. I don't know if you're interested, but I could share with you a couple tools that I use. I'm really big into automation, not to the point where it's like black hat, because there is some tools that are just like, complete spam, but right. I like the ones that are actually kind of useful and kind of edges on the spammy, not really too much, but Ninja Pinner is one of those. And what it does is it lets you gather pins and usernames in a list, almost like a CSV, and it lets you auto follow people under certain categories, auto like certain pictures, almost like Instagress. You've probably heard of Instagress.
It sounds familiar.
Which is like the Instagram version of Ninja Pinner, where it goes and likes people's pictures on Instagram according to certain hashtags, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess I would just be interested in any sort of methods that you're using currently that maybe not so many other people are using, or maybe something you're using as a competitive edge. I know that's probably kind of a big question. You may not want to share that because some people don't like sharing their secrets.
So on Pinterest?
Just on anything. I mean, I have a bunch of things that I do that I know, give me an edge that I'm not sure everybody else knows about, but
well, on Pinterest, what I do is I pin a lot of content, some of it for me, some of it from my assistant. And the key thing to do, in my opinion, is you want to create group boards and have a lot of people contribute to those boards, because then you get a free army of people who are going to help to grow your Pinterest profile and result in a board with a lot of high value pins. So
that's the other great. Sorry, go ahead.
So that's one of the key things that I do on Pinterest. The group boards are very valuable in terms of getting a larger audience and also having a board with more pins.
That's the other great thing about Ninja Pinner too, Mark, is that it lets you auto invite your followers to your group boards, your different group boards, which is pretty helpful.
That is helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like that assistant thing was pretty interesting. I didn't even think about that. Is that something you would recommend to like people who are doing Pinterest? I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, like, what are you doing that you wouldn't think other people might be doing right now, other than making courses and books and stuff like?
Those two things are really the key things, and just also having the assistance, even if it's something that you already know how to do, just for the sake that you're able to open up more time for yourself, that you're able to utilize in different areas and to make a bigger profit by repurposing the time more wisely.
Okay. Nice. All right. Well, anything else you feel like sharing, Mark?
If you want to find me on the web, you can follow me on a lot of the social networks at Marc Guberti. And I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. I'm on almost all of them. So if you search for me, you'll probably find me there. And also, do feel free to check out my blog post at marcguberti.com.
Hey, well, I really appreciate coming on the podcast, Mark.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right. We're ending.